Hey guys, EBPMAN here, and today we're going to review the Note 8 in its entirety. This is all about tips and tricks. I'm going to have an indexing of all the video areas in the comment area below so you can jump to the area that you want. This is an extensive review, so those of you who are coming from the S8 or the S8 Plus, you may want to just go down to the index because there's going to be a lot of refresher points here. But if you are a Note 5 user, Note 4 user, just haven't really personalized your phone much, this is a great video to watch. So let's check it out. So now the very first thing we're going to do is start with personalization, things that you can adjust. So the first thing I wanted to show you is your toggles. Toggles are areas that appear here at the very top of the screen. We're going to erase this for a second. Let's go ahead and swipe this down. This area right here, these are all your toggles. Now you can personalize your toggles to meet your specific needs for the components that you access the most. One of the most important toggles, and one that I use a lot, is the flashlight toggle. You notice this right here, so as soon as you tap it, it turns on the flashlight. But it may not be where my toggle area is for my flashlight. So let me show you how you modify this. Alright, so to access the toggles, what you're going to do is you're going to swipe down. That's a single swipe, and you get this, just a group of them. What you could do though is if you choose both fingers, you'll get them all. Now, a couple options that we have here. You do have a button grid order, and the button grid order is going to allow you to determine how many icons appear there. Notice there's 3. Choose the 4, choose the 5, and it's just going to get more in place. I'm going to go to the 4x3, and I'm going to hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this 3 button again, and I'm going to choose button order. Now by choosing the button order, what you're going to notice is you can actually reorganize things. Mine looks very different from yours because I've reorganized it to suit what's important to me. You'll also notice that here at the very bottom you have some widgets or toggles that you may not have because they are provided by certain apps. So I have LastPass, and it has this app fill toggle, and then also I have a VPN, which is that connect to PIA. So what you could do is simply grab any icon or any toggle that you have here. And let's say I want my Bluetooth to be next to Wi-Fi. Just move it over just like that. You notice I have my flashlight here. This is going to enable your flashlight. It's not going to turn on now because I'm in organizing it mode, but I can reorganize. So all you're going to do is drag and drop, and you can grab, you have more over here too, so you can actually press and hold and move them over. So this is going to just adjust them. Now once you've done it, you'll notice that now they're live, and I can press this button and it'll turn it on. Very easy to customize, and it's going to just really take the pain away of you swiping left to right to find your toggles. Now the next tip also in this toggle area has to do with this volume, or not the volume, the brightness area. I gave this as one of the first 10 things that you should do. So if you haven't seen that video, don't worry, I'm going to cover it here as well. So what you can do is, if you don't have this on, this is how you're going to see it on yours. I'm going to turn mine off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. Notice I don't see my brightness control at all. I have to do this twice or use the 2-finger swipe to see it. So what you can do is just choose this and then select show control on top, hit done, and now what you have is that will always be there right underneath those toggles. Now working our way from top to bottom, let's talk about the screen. You'll notice here on the screen I have my icons are grouped. Let me show you how to create groups and then also how you organize them. Now creating a group is pretty easy. I'm going to work on this screen here. All I'm going to do is press and hold, and then I'm going to drag it on top of a program icon, and it creates the group automatically. I can name the group whatever I want, so I'll name this test. I could also change the color of the group. So I can make that grouping, this color. You notice I just changed it. Let's make it that kind of yellow, pastel yellow. I could also then add programs. So I can go in and say, you know what, I want to add this authenticator to it, and then hit add, and now it's there. And as soon as I tap out, now I have that group that's called test. Now if I want to take something out of the group, all I do is I grab, and I could just move it out like this and place it next to it. Or what I could do is I can tap on it, press and hold, and you'll notice that I have this shortcut menu that comes up, and there's multiple things I can do. I can select multiple items, so like if I wanted to work with multiple, I can drag and drop them around. Or what I can do, let's go back to it, I can remove the shortcut, remove this from the folder, add it to a secure folder, which we'll talk about a little bit later, uninstall it, or look at app information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press and hold this, and I'm going to take it out of this folder. Just going to bring it down here, just drop it here. And you'll notice as soon as I did that, that folder disappeared. So that's how you create groups and how you can manipulate the groups and just change things. Now, you could even have groups down here. It's just a matter of taking the group and dragging it into this area. So it's all about how you want to personalize it. Now, accessing all your programs can be done real simply just by dragging down like this. And you'll notice that the same techniques that I use for creating groups on the main screen can be used here. Notice how I have everything organized. Now, in order to create that group, if you do press and hold here, you can do the same thing where you can do all the uninstall features. If I drag it over, I can create that group as I did there. I can also go into this area here. We'll do the 3 buttons here, and I can look at how the content is sorted and sorted alphabetically. I can look at settings, and in the settings area, I can really look at, notice there's 2 things here. There's a home grid and an apps grid. This is the main screen, and this is where all your applications are. You can change the number of applications that you have here. So in this case, I have 4 by 6, and here if I choose 5 by 6, it just means that I'm going to be able to hold more icons on a specific screen. If I go to 4 by 6, they're larger and there's fewer icons on the screen, so things spread out a little bit. So that's going to be something that you could choose as an option for you. You could do the same feature on the home screen and do that. Now, something else that you could do is you can actually hide apps. So if I choose hide apps, any app that I choose here will just disappear. In some cases, there are those apps that you just can't uninstall. So I'm going to show you what you could do to uninstall some of your apps. In that case, you can hide it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go back up here. And what I'm going to do is I don't really use the disable mode or the drive mode here. I'm going to press and hold, and I can uninstall it or disable it. This is an AT&T app. So I'm going to hit disable, and by disabling it, it's not going to get updated and it's just going to disappear. If I'm not able to disable something, which I don't really know of anything that I haven't been able to do that, I either can disable or install. I can also choose to hide it. So all you have to do is go into that menu that we showed, and you would do the hide. Now, returning back to the home page here, something else that you can do is actually work with widgets. This is a widget, and I always get a question as to what widget this is. This is the widget from Beautiful Widgets. It's a paid app, and it just gives me the ability to see the weather, and also it gives me the ability to personalize it this way. I just like the way this widget looks. It's a little retro. This is kind of like an HTC widget, but that's something that you could download and then install yourself on your phone. Now, if I press and hold here, what will happen is, and I just pressed on a blank area, you're going to be able to work with wallpapers and themes. Now, wallpapers and themes are the coolest way to personalize the phone to make it look like something that suits your personality. Here's a nice little wolf. You know, I don't know if this is so much Game of Thrones, but there was a nice wolf one that came up. And you can change not only the wallpaper, but you can change the colors, you can change the fonts, you could even change the icons themselves. So you'll notice you can go through here and look at what's your top, what's new. You can see, you can choose things from here and just really personalize things. So this is your wallpapers, these are your themes, and these themes are going to change all the icons, and you can see, you know, some of the icon packs here, that how it just transforms the way your phone looks. And really that's what Android is all about. It's not about being the same, it's about being different. It's about having the phone suit your personality, unlike some other phones, like the iPhone, which everybody has the same phone and you can only change the wallpaper. Here you have your icon packs, so you can choose what kind of icons you want, again, to fit your personality. And then you always have the always on display personalization too, which will show you how that works in a couple seconds as well. So there's free and there's also purchase options here. Now, another great thing about the widgets has to do with the shortcuts that you can add on your screen. Now, every phone has a different number of widgets, and those widgets are going to be based on the apps that you install. So you'll notice that I have an American Airline widget, and that's because I have the American Airline app. I have AdSense because of the Google stuff that I do, and you just have all these out there. So all you have to do is look for the widget that you want, and then you drag and drop it onto your screen. But I'm going to show you a widget that everyone has, and it's a widget that you should all consider. This device maintenance widget. We're going to talk about about device maintenance in this video as well, but I'm just going to show you how to add the widget to your desktop and how it works, because again, it's a good widget to have. So all you're going to do is you're going to tap into this area, and you'll notice that you have two options. I choose this option right here, this device maintenance. I hold on to it and I let it go. Now, it's now on the screen, and I actually have mine right here because I use it often. All you do is when you want to refresh your phone, if your phone is going slow, is you press that button, and it's going to clear your memory, clear the running apps, and it's just going to make your phone run as if it had been just started or rebooted that day. So that's a cool feature, and you notice how I cleared out how much memory, and my phone is set to go. And that was a widget that was there. Now, another cool widget that I would recommend, and I use often, is the Magnifier widget. So all you do is you press and hold, and you put it on the screen. And this Magnifier widget uses your camera, but it uses it in a way that you can use it as a magnifying glass to look at a prescription bottle, small print. You could actually turn on and off the flashlight to help with the magnification that you're working on, and you can take a picture of it. So in essence, this is your camera, but it is it's specialized to really be a magnifying glass. Another great widget. Now, removing widgets, you remove them the same way you work with programs. All you do is press and hold, and what you can do is you can remove the shortcut. I can do the same thing here, and I can do remove. Gone. Now, another thing you can do is work with pages. You'll notice how this is framed and this is framed. This is what is referred to as a page. So I have a page here, I have a page here, and you can notice that I have a blank page here, and I can add another page. Well, to remove a page, all you do is you just tap on the garbage can and it's gone. To reorder a page, all you do is you press and hold, and you drag it where you want. So you'll notice I have a page to the left and the page to the right because I don't like swiping in one direction. You also notice that your Bixby Home is here, and what you could do is you could either enable it or disable it. So it becomes annoying each time you swipe over to get Bixby there. So what I do, and I would recommend you do, is you just turn that off, and now when I go back, when I swipe, it's not there. So all I do is swipe to the left and swipe to the right, and that's all I have. So the widgets also have the ability, if you're going to work with widgets, you can actually search for widgets. So if you're trying to find that flashlight, all you do is type in the word flashlight, or actually it's not flashlight, magnifier. There it is. You can find the magnifier. So you have the ability to search. And again, I would go in here because you have lots of apps, and you may not know which widgets are available, and it may make using that app much more enjoyable. Now, the other thing about this area that I wanted to share is, you notice how there's a little house on the top of that page? That means that that's the home page. So when you press this button, it's always going to go there. If you want this page to be the home page, all you do is you tap on the top, and you notice how it has the home now? If I tap on the top over here, that's the home page. That means that no matter where I am, when I press home, it's going to come to this page. Now let's go ahead and go into the settings area. So I'm just going to swipe down, and we're going to choose the settings. Now, in this section of the video, we're going to cover a lot of the features and functions, things that I find that are very useful. I'm not going to cover every single function there, but the things that I use, my family use, my friends use, and a lot of the folks that are on the channel who ask questions and add some of these functions use. So let's go ahead and take a look at the settings area. So the first menu we're going to look at is connections. Now in connections, there's a lot of things here. Again, I'm going to just focus on the things that I find that's really important. And we're going to talk about the data usage. Depending on who your carrier is, you could enable this data saver. And what this data saver is going to do is it's going to do its best to reduce the amount of data that your applications are using. I run into this all the time. I don't have unlimited on this specific carrier, so I monitor my data closely. I do have it on my T-Mobile phone. And what you can do is you enable this, and you can make sure that the app is not in the background doing updates. Like Reddit is known for being a data hog. So you can turn this on, this feature on, and then what you can do is actually go through and select which apps allow the app while data saver is on. So right now, all the apps have been restricted, but I can create an exception. So that's something that you can do with the data saver. You could also then look at your data usage. And when you look at right here, I'm looking at what my data usage is. I can look at my warnings. I can look at all the information about it. So if I go into mobile data here, I can enable or disable it. I could also look at my mobile data usage, what's going on, and I could also set limits, and where my limit is here. I can lower it if I wanted to. So if I can go in here, I can set my limit. I could calibrate it to my billing cycle, right? And be very harsh about things. I can say my mobile data will be turned off when that limit gets to that point. So if you don't have that feature when it comes to unlimited data, that's something you can use. The other thing is if you wonder where your data is being used, this mobile data usage is going to tell you where it's at. No surprise that Facebook is the biggest one, followed by YouTube. And if I had Reddit on here, I'm sure that would be the next one. So this is going to give you a glimpse as to what app is using up all your data. Now the next feature that I get a lot of people, especially my family and my friends, disable is NFC and Payment. Leave this on. This is going to allow you to use not Apple Pay. This is going to allow you to use Samsung Pay and Android Pay. It also allows you to share content. So when we're at parties taking pictures, if you have a Samsung phone or an Android phone, you can actually tap them together to share. And you need to have NFC and Payment on in order to do that. Now an area that we're going to look at is the hotspot and tethering. Most plans today come with it, and let me show you what I do. Now under hotspot and tethering, we're going to choose this, and then I'm going to go into the hotspot and tethering area. First of all, you can establish what your hotspot name is, and I always recommend that you have a unique one. Your password. You can turn on Wi-Fi sharing. This is super cool. With Wi-Fi sharing, I use this primarily when I'm on a plane. In most cases, what ends up happening is I will get my free hour with T-Mobile because I have a T-Mobile phone. And when this phone is connected to the airplane Wi-Fi, I turn on Wi-Fi sharing. And I can connect my laptop, my tablet to this phone and take advantage of that free hour that I get through T-Mobile. So that's a tip around Wi-Fi sharing. If we go into this area here, you can rename. You could also go here, and this is where we're going to really focus on configuring the mobile hotspot. There's a lot of cool features here. First, you're going to name your Wi-Fi. You're going to put what your password is. But I recommend that everybody go into Show Advanced Options. Now, one of the things that you're going to see here is you have your broadcast networks, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. I tend to use 5 gigahertz band because it's the one that's the least used. If I'm in the airport or if I'm in a public area and I'm doing hotspot sharing, many people have a problem with that connection because they're using the lower band. I choose the 5 because less people are on it, and you notice it was not a default option. This is the fastest band, but it doesn't have the same reach as far as distance goes. But because typically when I'm doing the Wi-Fi hotspot feature, my phone is next to my laptop or I'm in close proximity, I always choose to use that specific band. So I would recommend that you do that on your phone. That way you get faster connectivity and you don't have to deal with all the noise that's on the network because everyone else is on 2.4. Now the next area we're going to go into is more connection settings. It's frequently not a lot of people I know of don't even go in here. But one of the things that you can do with your phone, especially if you have a Wi-Fi printer in your home or a networked printer, is print from your phone to your printer. And the way you do this is by going into printing. So if you go into printing, you notice that I have these services, the Canon print service, HP service, and Samsung print service. Well, in order to be able to print, you're going to need to have to download a plugin. You would look to find the printer that you have. So if you have a Brother printer, you choose this. If you have a Canon printer, you choose that. There's an Epson printer. There's also generic ones that you can use, like this one right here, just to find the printer that you're looking for. And then once you have it, you can choose it from the list of printers when you go to print. You can also disable things. So for example, so if you don't have a Samsung printer, you can disable that if you want, or if you don't have a Canon one, you can disable that. You could also uninstall it too if you'd like. So that is the printing section. Now the next area that we're going to go into is sounds and vibration. This is pretty straightforward. This is where you would go to modify your ringtones, your notification sounds, but there's a couple things that we're going to talk about. So you can play with these because they're pretty straightforward. Do not disturb, great feature. Do not disturb allows you to set a specific time of day where your phone will go in silent mode so you don't have to turn it off. I do this at 10 o'clock at night, my phone goes silent and it doesn't wake up to 7 a.m. and it does that Monday through Sunday. So it's going to be 7 days a week. Now I do have some exceptions, and you notice here this is alarms only. So even though my phone is quiet and I don't hear any of the pokings, any of the ticks or talks that happen because of Facebook or Twitter, my alarms though will go off. I also can add exceptions either by apps or by people. So I can actually have my mom, my dad, my cousin, my uncle, my brother, my sister be able to come through for an exception. So I can have some exceptions that are going to be custom, exceptions that are going to be for specific people that are calling. So this is something that you can set up. And I tell you, this is a great feature that is completely underused. So now to set up that feature, you go into Allow Exceptions. I had alarm only. You change it to custom, and here what you do is you have your repeat callers is an option. Notice how alarm is still on there. You could say calls from favorite contacts, which is my favorite people are going to be my immediate family. So that's why I set it up there. Or you can put messages from a specific person if you wanted to. So when you do favorites contacts, it means messages, calls, everything from those people you're going to get. So you don't have to worry about missing that call from your mom, your dad if they're elderly, or your brother, your sister, or any relative that's in your favorite list. You can also do some of these other things like reminders and priority apps, but what I tend to use the most, and my friends do as well, is the favorites only. Now the next thing that I also modify, and it's also significantly underutilized, is the sound quality and effects. Now when you first read this, you think that it has to do with other sounds, but it really isn't. Let's go into this for a second. This is where you can really tailor the Note 8, and this also works on the Samsung S8 and S8 Plus. This has been in a lot of phones since I think the S5. You can modify the way, just like an equalizer, how you listen to music. Some people like bass heavy, some people like mid heavy, some people like the highs that are highly accentuated. You can actually modify that to whatever you'd like, and also see how you can have these adjustment dials to create what is it you'd like to highlight, the instrumentals or the voice. I have mine in the middle. The other thing that you could do is you can, when headphones are connected, you can have an upscaler, Tube Amp Pro. Some people like to simulate like if there was music going through an amp, which has its own unique audio qualities. You can do that. The one thing that is always underused is adapt sound. Sorry. If I go in here, what you're going to do is, and I'm going to say allow. This is going to allow you to personalize the way the music sounds. You notice how it has presets. Use for sound for optimized for people under 30, between 30, and the people over 60. Now the reason why this is set this way is because the audio quality or the ability for you to hear changes as you get older. So literally what you can do is you could either personalize that sound so that it's unique to you, and it's literally like going through a hearing test where you hear the beeps on each ear, and then basically you're going to tell the Samsung phone when you hear it, and it's going to make it unique to you so you're not using any of these presets. Or you could go straight with a preset. So check this out, especially since you have great headphones with this phone, the wired ones, and it's really going to transform the way you listen to music. So in my case, I chose the preset 2, but let me show you what the personalized looks like. So here what you do is you plug in the headphones, and then you go through the hearing test, and it's going to be those beeps, just like when you went to the your hearing doctor when you were a kid. You would do the same thing. Now the last audio feature that I want to share with you, and also not very well known, is the separate app sound. Have you ever been listening to music on a wireless speaker and then you get a phone call and then that wireless speaker picks up the call? Well, if you are in a large setting where you guys are having a party and you're streaming Pandora from your phone or something else, it gets annoying, right? If you're in your office or in your home office and that happens, that works really well. So what you could do here is, because of Bluetooth 5.0, and this is existing in this S8 and in this phone, you can actually choose what happens when a phone call comes in. You can say, I want music to go through the speaker, and you can say, I want audio, the phone call, to only be on the handset. So this is a great way to separate those two activities. Now, we won't go into the notification area because that's pretty much, you just go in and you can block certain apps that become annoying. Like, for example, if you like playing bingo, my wife does, and her bingo app always is notifying her. So you can go in here and just disable notifications. So we'll go ahead and skip that. Let's go into display because there's a lot to see in the display area. Now in the display area, in addition to having the brightness, what I like, and this is one of the 10 tips, is the blue light filter. So the blue light filter, and we'll turn this on, really makes it easier for you to use your phone at night. I always use the example of turning on a bright light, and when you're in bed, you kind of squint, you can't see until your eyes adjust. And scientists have looked at normal light in a I would say in the nighttime or before you go to sleep, and they state that this light also impacts how quickly you go to sleep. So I have on my phone on schedule between sunrise and sunset, it will automatically go into this kind of view, and it makes it easier to read at night. It also, if you're at the show, for example, you know how some people just turn on their phone and it's like a beacon. It helps. It helps with that too. So you can actually access it as a toggle, or you can have this like I have on mine, turn on as scheduled. Now, the next thing is the screen mode. Now, the screen mode, you can actually change the screen mode to view things the way you'd like based on how you use your phone. You could go with cinema view, you can go with a photo view, or you could go with the basic view. And what will happen is it's going to change the way your colors in this area are viewed. It's going to make certain things pop. I don't know if it's going to come out that clearly on the video, but right now the adaptive, if you look at this pepper, it's very red. And as I change it, it kind of gets deeper as opposed to brighter. And as I change it, you notice how the highlights will change. And if you go to basic, it kind of changes again. So this is going to, I have mine on adaptive, but it gives you the ability to adjust things. You can also work with color balance and make things cooler or warmer. And then with the advanced options, you can take certain colors away, especially if you have any kind of color blindness where the colors may not look right and they may be somewhat distorted. You can make some adjustments in this area to just make the phone more usable for you. Now, the other thing that you can do is modify your screen resolution. The S series S8 and also the Note 8 have fantastic screens. By default, the screen resolution is at fixed or this 2220 by 1080 resolution, which is FHD plus. But you could go into WQHD, which is even higher resolution. I keep mine at this because the fonts, as it is, if you get higher, they become smaller, but everything becomes crisp. Check that out. Check these settings and see which one makes the most sense to you. Now, the other thing that I look at is screen magnification and also characters. You'll notice because the phone is so big, I find that the fonts can be too small. So I come in here to modify my fonts and also my screen zoom. So you'll notice up here, here's a preview, and you see that my font size is set to this. And you notice as I'm moving it, it's showing me what it's like. So I have mine set to that. I could also do screen zoom. And with the screen zoom, as I make it larger, you'll notice how it makes things a lot easier to see. So depending on your vision condition, you can modify this. The other thing that you have is different fonts that you can just modify to make it look more like yours. Now, we did talk about the home screen, so we're not going to visit that again. You do have full screen apps, and this is just going to allow you to choose which apps take up the full screen and overtake this navigation bar. This is something that you may want to change. When you get your phone, it's going to be like this. You notice how everything is rounded and even. And then when I've done it this way, now everything is not rounded. I kind of like it this way, so I've chosen icons only, not icons in frame. You see how that circles around that? It kind of annoys me, so I go with icons only. So that's something that you can change there as well. Now, the next thing that I modify is edge screen. So let's go into this for a second. So you have your panels, which appear on the sides, and we'll go over panels in a couple seconds. But then there's this edge lighting, and the edge lighting is a way to notify you. Typically you have the LED that lights up here. It tells you about things that have taken place. So I'm going to go into the edge lighting. And in the edge lighting, what you can do is you can modify the edge lighting to be either always on, which applications are going to be impacted by the edge lighting, as you can see here. And also, what's the color and transparency of it. So for example, I can determine how wide the edge is. So watch, I'm going to make this wider. You notice how that green is going all the way around? That means that in the event that I get a text message or a call from those two apps that I've selected, my phone is going to light up and it's going to go around. I can modify it to see what it's going to look like. I can choose the color. Right? I could be matching the app itself or go with the basic color. So I have mine in the green because I think it stands out the most, but you have a wide variety of colors that you can choose. You can go basic colors or you can create your own custom color yourself. Now, the other thing that you can do at the very top is enable something. So let's go into the status bar. And what I like having is, you'll notice up here I have 71% is my battery life. If I take that off, it goes away. I like knowing how much my battery's left, not just the symbol. So this is how you turn on your battery percentage. Have you ever butt dialed someone All right, you don't have to confess, but if you do, I'm proud of you. Well, this feature is going to help. This blocks accidental touches. So if your phone is in your purse, it's in your pocket, and you want it to avoid from calling somebody, and you walking around as your caller is just listening to your keys shuffle in your pants or your coins or whatever it is, this is a feature that you'll want. So block accidental touches. You enable that, and when it's in your pocket or your bag, you won't have to worry about it. Now we've already covered wallpapers and themes, so we're going to go into advanced. So now in the advanced area, there's a lot of cool things here that we'll look at. We are going to do a video that's all about S Pen, so we're going to leave that. And what we're going to do is talk about Smart Stay. So depending on what your screen timeout value is, you could be looking at your phone and your phone turns off because you haven't touched it because you're reading it. So with Smart Stay, when you enable it, what will happen is as you're looking at your phone, the phone is looking back at you, and it's going to keep the screen on until you look away. So it will never time out. So that's a really cool feature if that's something that you have some difficulty with. You also have a one-handed mode, and in the one-handed mode, it allows you to change the size of your screen so that you can have access to your buttons. You can see right here, all you do is you swipe down, and then you'll be able to access things. It's something that some people who have smaller hands quite often use. It's been available on the phones for a long time. The next thing here, and this is a popular one, this is where you could use the fingerprint sensor in the back as a scroll wheel. So if you enable this and you turn this on, it is going to scroll up and scroll down. So you can use that as a function. So that's a neat feature as well. The other thing, let's go back into advanced features. We're going to go back into the finger gestures. You can open Samsung Pay from the home button by swiping up. I already have this enabled, so if I go in here, so if I want to get my card, and we'll move my phone up a little bit so that can happen. Go home. You see the credit card, how it's there? So that's what that will enable, but I have that enabled through Samsung Pay. Now in this next area that you have here, this is, so we talked about the fingerprint sensor gesture. You have quick access to your camera. If you enable that, that means that when you press the power button here on the side, your camera is going to turn on. So that's a neat feature to have. Device Assistance app, that is when you press this button down and press and hold it, what app is going to turn on? I have mine enabled for Google, so Google is what comes up, so I can have Google do my navigation. And also, you can enable these features here so that the device assistant is looking at what's going on your screen. And what that's going to do is make it context aware. So if you bring up Google Assistant and you're looking at a pizza place, Google Assistant will assume and give you the ability to call that pizza place. So that's what these features do, and this is why I have them on. Now the next feature that we have in here is the multi-window, and the multi-window is going to give you the ability to have multiple applications. I'm going to show you how that works in a couple seconds. But you can open the apps, you can snap them. There are a lot of neat features that we'll look at. So let's tap here and see if it gives us an example. So the split screen is going to allow you to have apps, one on the bottom and one on the top. There's also a new feature called App Pair that we're going to see in a couple seconds that allows you to open two apps at the same time, and I'll show you that. So you could either have it in split screen, or what you can use it is to have them as a snap window, and I'll show you what that one looks like. So we'll go in here. This is where you can swipe down, and then you'll have a floating window just like you have in Windows. Now, one of the things I get a lot of questions about is like, how do you do a screenshot of these phones now? What you can do is by simply putting your hand over here and going over your screen, do a screenshot. It has to be touching the screen, and you swipe over. The way you enable that is with the Smart Capture. So with Smart Capture, you'll notice, watch how this hand goes over the screen, and what it does is it does a screenshot for you. So that's what Smart Capture is. You also have the palm to swipe capture, so you see that right there. We'll go to the one that we just saw because there is a small difference. So with the Smart Capture, what you can do is it's going to give you options at the very bottom so that you can capture more things. So let's say, for example, you're doing this swipe, and this is a web page that you want to capture all the information. This Smart Capture is going to say, would you like to capture the content below? And it's going to move the screen up and capture it, move the screen up and capture it. And then you have the palm swipe. Direct on call means that if you're looking at a text message and you put your hand to your phone to your ear, it's going to call automatically. Easy mute is if you put your hand on your phone, it's going to mute it. and you can swipe to send messages, swipe left or slap right, and then that's also going to send messages. The send SOS messages is great for emergency purposes, so you can actually tell it what to do during an emergency, and that's by pressing the button 3 times. It will either record, it will send a text message. There's a lot of options there, and that's something that you can enable as well. Now, device maintenance is a really neat add-on, and this I think came with the S8, maybe even the S7. It allows you to optimize your phone. Many people installed, including me, a separate app to optimize it, to check the memory, to check the disk space or the memory on your phone, and clean things up. So this area gives you the ability to optimize your phone. And this is the same app that we saw here, this little button that you can press. That will do that optimization for you. The difference is that it's more inclusive and there's more things that you can do. Now the apps area here, this is about app permissions. You can play with this. Not a lot of people play with it. Let's talk about the lock screen. So with lock screen, you have a couple options. You can have PIN, fingerprint, or iris. You can have facial recognition. I don't use the facial recognition. I do use the fingerprint scanner. And for me, the scanner is incredibly accurate, as well as the iris scanner. We've already talked about this, but we'll go over it really quickly. Let's go into the fingerprint scanner. And the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my PIN so I can register another fingerprint. Now, under the fingerprint scanner, you can do a couple things. You can add a fingerprint. You could also rename a fingerprint. And the fingerprint, you can use that to unlock your phone. You can use it for Samsung Pay, a lot of things. Now, what I do for the fingerprint sensor, and we're going to take it off here, is I try to do several impressions and I rotate the phone so that I have every possible impression possible. So I've already registered this finger. I'm going to register this other finger now. So I'm just going to put my finger here, and what's happening is, you'll notice what's happening here. Once I have it on there, it's telling me if I'm accurate or not. So what I would recommend you do is, as you're pressing it, you want to be able to move your finger. And what I do is I take a fingerprint impression of this. I also take this part, because you never know how you're going to grab it. So what you want to do is try to rotate, and look, I can even register my finger upside down. The whole point is to get as many impressions as you can. And I'm doing it really fast. I'm getting some errors. And once you're done with it, make sure we go through it. What you'll get is a very accurate impression. It's kind of hard to do while you're doing a video, but there it is. We'll do one more. All right. So now it says it's completely done. I'll choose done. And now what I can do is I can rename this one. So I'll call this my left index. All right. So I know if I have a problem with it, I know which one it is. This is my right index. I'll rename it. And now I have my fingers registered and I know which one is which. So if I have a problem, I know which one to delete and which one to re-register. Now the iris scanner is incredibly fast, and for me it's the preferred method for locking and unlocking my phone. All you'd have to do is follow the instructions. You can go through and remove the iris data if it hasn't worked for whatever reason. I typically wear glasses or contacts, so I do my iris registration with my contacts and my glasses off, and then when I wear them, it has no problem looking at it. I have no problem whatsoever in complete darkness. I do have a problem when the sun is behind me. Direct lighting, it has a problem with it. But I would recommend you check that out. Here you have your Samsung Pay. You can use your irises for that, or the Pass, Iris Unlock. And then this is what I turn on all the time, and I mentioned this on the top 10 things to do. What you don't want to do is use the Iris Unlock and then have to swipe and tell it to unlock. You want to be able to basically have the iris scan done immediately when you turn the phone on. So watch what I'm going to do. And I'm going to move the phone over to the side so that it can see me. And I'm going to power it on, and then an LED is going to turn on. You see that? That's how fast unlocking is. And you don't really have to stare at the phone, is what the great part is. But if you enable that function that I just showed you, both of those, as soon as you press it, it's just going to go ahead and do that retina scan, and you're in. Now the next thing here we're going to look at is Smart Unlock. Let me unlock it and I'll show you what it is. Now Smart Unlock is a great option, especially if you're a runner, if you're just with your phone in certain areas, because what I do is I use the trusted devices. So if I'm in my car and my Bluetooth is connected to the phone, my phone is not going to lock. it's going to stay unlocked until the Bluetooth signal is disconnected. If I have my Gear watch on and I basically am connected, my phone is not locked. If I have my headphones on, if I'm running, it will stay unlocked until the Bluetooth connection gets severed. I use this one a lot. The trusted places means that it will stay unlocked at your home. You can just use GPS for that. On your body is another way to do it. I don't use that one. And then you could also do it with the trusted voice when you speak to the phone for it to unlock. Now under secure lock settings, this is a feature that I use. I have mine set up so that when I immediately power off the phone locks. I have financial information on here. I use this for my business, both my normal business, my YouTube business, and then for personal use. So as soon as I turn off the phone, it just locks. You could make any of these changes to say after so many minutes for it to do it, or you can go with this power down lock. Now the screen also has something that's called always on display. You've noticed that when my phone goes off, you see my time and information. Well, I can schedule what time I want that always on to be enabled. I could also determine what information is going to be on the widgets themselves. So if I go in and I choose this, for example, I can say I would like to have the music controller. So as you swipe, you go to the music controller. I can have a schedule, and I can also have my next alarm appear. There is also where you can put contact information, and I'll show you when I'll turn off the screen in a second. You can put in emergency information or your information to show ownership of the device. So let's go ahead and turn this off so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the always on display. So there you see the time and you see EBPMAN Tech Reviews. If I had music playing, I could swipe over to for the music player. I haven't done that yet, so that's not showing. Now the next feature I want to show you is Find My Mobile. This is one of my top 10 tips as well. So we'll go ahead and choose Find My Mobile. This is going to cover it. And you notice how it says Send Last Location here in the bottom. Really cool feature. If your phone runs out of power, it will send to the Samsung Find My Mobile solution the last location of the phone. Make sure that's on. Make sure that you are logged into your Samsung mobile account, and you'll never lose your phone. Secure folder setup. Very, very important, especially if you're a business person. So with a secure folder setup, you actually have the ability, and it's looking for my retina for that, to set up a secure location where you have apps that have access to content that is separate from what you have here. It's part of what's called Samsung Knox. So you'll notice, I'll go in here and you'll see a folder, something that says secure folder. Let's see, where's my secure folder? There it is right there. So this secure folder, when I tap on it, it's going to take me into a separate window, which I'll show you in a sec. It's going to allow you to have a separate Snapchat, a separate email, a separate browser history, everything that's separate that you want to separate between business and personal. Let's go ahead and go in. So now this is the example of a secure folder. So I have a gallery that has pictures that are not standard on my phone, calendar, contacts, email. These are all the things that you can have separate. But you can also add other applications. You can add files. So if I add an app, I can actually come through the list of apps and add Facebook. And that would be a separate business Facebook. Any of the apps that are here, I'd have to log in again and they would have a separate profile. So you can have one app that has two profiles, one that's in your secure folder and one that's in your standard folder. Now the next area that we have here are cloud accounts, and this is going to have, where your backup is going to be, your Google Cloud, if you subscribe to those things. Great if you have those features. Not highly used. I use a Samsung Cloud to back up my phone and secure data, as well as my profile information. Something you should look at. The Google area we won't touch. It's basically everything about Google. So this is Google, the Google Voice, Google Ads, Google everything. So this is just an area that covers all the things that are inside of Google. General management. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now the area that I would highlight here in general management is the reset area. Love this feature. This is the auto restart. The auto restart feature restarts your phone once whenever you want so that your phone is always fresh. So my phone restarts every Sunday at 3 in the morning, and that way my phone is never sluggish, it's running well, and as long as these conditions are met, your phone will auto restart. And that's everything you need to know about the settings area. Now let's talk about the side panel here for a second. Now one of the new things that Samsung has released is the app pairs. The app pairs is the ability for you to have access to two applications at the same time that you use frequently. So for example, when I'm using Waze, I listen to music. So I created an app pair. So what it will do is it will open up Waze and Spotify at the same time. Let's do that. So here you have Waze up here, and on the bottom you have Spotify loading. Give it a second. There it is. Now when you have two windows open at the same time, you can toggle between each one. If you tap in the middle here, you can swap them, so you can make whatever's on the top on the bottom, whatever on the bottom is on the top. You can window them, you can resize them, or you can just close them and then end up in whichever app was the non-selected one. So I had Waze selected, so when I hit the X, it closed it and it brought me here. Now for this app's edge, so I've added a lot of apps here. I could modify that, so I'm going to hit this. I'm going to choose the app's edge edit, and what I can do here is I can remove apps or create new app pair. So I can remove the one that I created here, and I can say create an app pair, and now all I have to do is choose the two apps that I want to have working simultaneously. So what I'm going to say is I want to be able to, let's see, go into my email. So I'm going to choose that one, and also run Excel at the same time. I can switch the order. This is just basically means what's on the top and what's on the bottom. I'll choose done, and now when I click on this, it's going to open them both at the same time, one on the top and one on the bottom. Now while we're in the Edge, there are several things that you can do in the Edge. You can download more Edge panels, so you notice here are several that have been pre-installed. I can choose to download more, so you're going to go into store. Some are free, some you buy. I can go ahead and reorder things. I can also modify the handle setting. This is what the handle is called. So instead of it being on the left, I can put it on the right. I can make it larger, so make it bigger, that will get wider. Make it more transparent, make it less transparent. I can also make it vibrate when I select it. So that's for that Edge panel functionality. Now another tip I wanted to give you is that with your phone is off, our natural tendency is to press this button to turn it on. But if you press and hold the bottom, it will also turn it on by pressing where your home button is. So guys, that concludes that in-depth review of things that you can do with your Note 8 and how to configure it. If there's something that I missed that you find that's very useful, please leave it in the comment area below so that you can share with everybody. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It's a lengthy video, I know, but it covers everything that you need to know about the Note 8. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe.